Thank you for joining us today, folks. I'm Richard Marshall, President of Siskiyou County Water Users Association, and this is a segment in our educational series we've been putting out to the public regarding the issues surrounding the Klamath Dam removal. And today I have with me Jerry Bacigalupi, a civil engineer, professional civil engineer, who's a member of the board of our Water Users Association. And Jerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay, I'm a registered civil engineer, registered land surveyor. I'm licensed general contractor and licensed building contractor. And I worked for the state of California for several years, and I worked in the hydrology department, and I worked in the land use department, and I administered the Williamson Act at the state level, and I was bridge engineer on Interstate 5 from Weed to Wairika, and that's what got me up here in Siskiyou County.
And I know, Jerry, you've been a very outspoken person for many years about issues that pertain to the engineering issues surrounding the Klamath Dam removal. And I'm going to ask you several questions on that. The first one I'm going to talk about is one I've heard you talk about before that I think people have to understand. The proponents for removing the dam say that these dams offer no flood protection, no fire protection. We've already covered in one of our other segments fire protection. Why don't you talk about your point that you've raised before about why these dams can be used for flood control? How do they fit into protecting the public?
Well, I did an analysis on it based on the 1964 flood that we had here in Siskiyou County. And with that, the dams provide about a 25% reduction in peak flow. The federal government, Department of Interior, has made a study on it, and they say that it's only 6%. And I've sent my comments in on it, and what I did is a 3-hour stepped hydrograph based on the hydrograph, and they said that and when I did that, I had a 22% reduction in peak flow, and they said had I done a 15-minute stepped hydrograph, why I would agree with them. Well, I went through and I had a program, computer program and everything, went through and reanalyzed it with a 15-minute, and I come up with a 25+% reduction. So, and then I responded to that, have not received any response whatsoever from the federal government on that.
In fact, one thing, if I recall, was said in the EIRES that FERC did, and in several other occasions, they've essentially tried to poo-poo the things you have said, and basically haven't given you any credence about these things, which is amazing because yours is scientifically supported, engineeringly supported. Well, now let me move on to something else. We have here what's called a SWEP report rules. This is from Caltrans, and it's something that Jerry had referred me to before. And one of the issues he finds completely lacking in the work that's been done so far by KRRC and by FERC, and a very necessary ingredient or step that's been passed by, has to do with the SWEP report. And Jerry, why don't you just walk the audience through what that entails?
Yeah, well, the SWEP report requires that for any project that you do, that you analyze the hydrographic.
Excuse me, why don't you say what the SWEP report that's an acronym, what that means,
Yeah.
so they know what it means.
Okay, SWEP report means Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan.
Right.
And basically what it requires is for you to analyze the project and not create any more flow into the streams or offsite than historically has existed. And also you have to retain and contain all the sediment that is produced by the project and not release it downstream. So what we have here with the removal of the dams, they are not proposing to contain the sediments. They're going to release 20 million cubic yards of sediment down the river to the estuary. And that amounts to, it's 190 miles from Iron Gate all the way to the estuary. And if you assume the river is 150 feet wide, the floodplain, it amounts to 3 feet deep by 190 feet long. They've ignored this. And then what they did is they were called on it, and they came up and they required the contractor to come up with a SWEP report. That's not the way you do it. You come up with a SWEP report. The engineer, through the administration, comes up with a SWEP report prior to it going to contractor or anything. And so what they've done is ask the contractor to do a SWEP report. That is totally wrong. And so now what they've done, they've gone back and they've kind of recited that, and the contractor now says that he is going to go back and use examples that have already been established, and that's going to be the SWEP report.
Jerry, can I interrupt you just for a
Yeah.
moment? I want to make sure the audience is clear about a certain point that you raised, and that is when you talked about the amount of sediment that would be going downriver as a description of it, you were referencing 3 feet thick, but that's the length of the river, right?
All the way 190 miles.
190 miles,
Yeah.
right, 190 miles. So that's a huge amount of sediment to get rid of. So what would you say to the inquiring public by not doing this SWEP report? What is the issue that you see by not having done it? What are they missing?
Well, they're going to release all the sediment down to the estuary. The estuary is already in trouble. It's already, sand block basically for salmon coming upstream.
People may not understand what an estuary is. You might want to explain that.
That's where the river runs into the ocean.
Right.
And, it's complete, as an engineer, it's completely insane to see the way our administration, both federal and state governments, are handling this. They are not handling the problem at all. And, if I could just kind of summarize, the Klamath River Basin, the Klamath River is the only upside-down river on the west coast. It's got poor water quality at the upper levels, very hot temperatures in the summertime, and it improves as it goes to the ocean. So the salmon habitat is basically downstream from the dams, from the tributaries coming in down there. And it's just like a game warden said that we advocated to truck and haul, to prove this, let's truck and haul the salmon to the upper basin, and let's see if they come back to the ocean. Well, one of the game wardens told me that he says that there's only one way the salmon could get back to the ocean from Upper Lake. And he said that's to become flying fish. And I believe that.
So as an engineer overall, could you just give us an assessment of this project, which is the largest dam removal project in the history of the world, folks, the largest dam removal project in the history of the world, about to take place with an inadequate EIR, EIS done by FERC to do a license surrender for Pacific Corp, with the state of California, the state of Oregon essentially stepping in to make it happen because KRC has no prior experience in removing dams, and here they are about to spend $450 million or more, and it'll probably be more, of the taxpayers and ratepayers' money to take these dams out to try to accomplish the impossible act of getting salmon to reproduce in an area they've never reproduced in prior, up in the Upper Lake area. But at an engineering point of view, you would say what, Jerry, about this entire engineering episode in this project?
Well, with the situation that we have today in the world is when I left the state in 1980, California was 18 million. United States was 10 times that, 180 million. The world was 10 times that, 1.8 billion. Now the world is over 8 billion. It's more than quadrupled in less than 50 years. We're running out of water. We're running out of electricity. We're running out of resources. And my theory is that we need more storage reservoirs. We need more hydroelectric plants. The hydroelectric plants that they're planning to take out produce enough power for 70,000 homes, which is 2 times the number of homes in Siskiyou County. So, it's absolutely insane to take these reservoirs out.
So just to sort of come to a close here, folks, the thing you need to think about is this electricity that's being currently produced by hydroelectric dams, clean hydroelectric power dams, is going to be replaced by Warren Buffett. Where's he going to get the power? From the Midwest, coal-fired plants that he uses in the Midwest, maybe wind and solar too, but most of Buffett's operation in the Midwest is coal-fired, and he'll use the grid system to move that power into our area and take away the hydroelectric plants. But I want to point out something as we close here. Mr. Bacigalupi has written a very thorough analysis of these things, which we're going to make available through our website at the Siskiyou Water Users, Siskiyou County Water Users Agency.org. Siskiyou County Water Users Association, thank you, association.org. Anyway, you will find that this will be posted, the connection to this report that Jerry has done. I suggest you use it. And if you want to contact the Siskiyou Water Users Association, please feel free to do so. You can do it through our Facebook page, or you can do it through the website. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Jerry, for your explanation.
Good job.